I need a lot more explanation about Standard 5's video and kind of, for sure, the vision of how it fits into PBL, project-based learning, because I didn't see that. And so I really couldn't give you any kind of a mark on that until I hear more from you about what you're doing with this.
Absolutely. So I actually sent you the reflection like way too late, but it like kind of outlines. So in the first lesson, this is like the first of a month-long lesson. So basically one of our themes this month is like if I were president. And we're actually doing it for 2 separate classes in the week. But I totally love this project and I feel like it fits well because it covers a lot of things that they're learning about, at least on like basic level. So like the main concept is they're going to be president. So what kind of person do they want to be? What are those good qualities and how do they reflect them and rules that they want to make or things that they say that they won't be doing? And so it's like, oh, when I'm president, I will blah, blah, blah. And these are the rules. And we're building on that all month by like doing some crafts and like things that help support them visually so they can have fun with it. But it's also like first the introduction of what a president is and like what a leader is and how there's differences in like different areas. And then also it led to like, okay, but they can be different. Why are they different? They're different people and different people have different qualities. So understanding personality qualities. And then they were, because this is part of character education for them. So understanding what kind of person you can be and like which one of those qualities are good and which ones are not so good. And then later we're building, when we go to rule making on the next one, it's like, okay, you said you want to be a generous person. What does a generous person do? So what kind of rules would you want to make to show that? And so we're tying in a lot of things like global awareness. So I'm trying to look at like different countries and like different rules, and some are kids' ideas about like rules that they think are good rules, and then there's like some silly rules because I want them to have like creative freedom to do what they want with it. But we're looking at what different countries think about it, what it means to be like a good community member, and what it means to be a good person. And I had like a whole list of things about it. We're talking about like what it means to be a leader. And so we're working on a lot of our smaller, like character education lessons into this one larger lesson.
Okay, that's helpful because that was not,
yeah, that doesn't come across in the first lesson at all.
No, and I'm not sure that they understood that. I mean, I think that if you set the stage for that, I didn't see it. So we'll go through that when we get to that element. But let's go through the lesson. I didn't feel like this was one of the stronger lessons I've seen you teach, and actually, I was surprised that. I was surprised that you were so negative about Standard 4 and positive about this one because I felt the opposite of the two.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I think there's a lot of room here that you could expand on. And so I'll give you some suggestions. But, okay, so the interdisciplinary themes. At the beginning, you were talking about the presidents and the president of Korea and the president of the United States. And I felt like this lent itself really well to a conversation about geography. And so a map would have been really helpful to show the different countries. Like when you're thinking about interdisciplinary and you're looking at this entire unit, think about, okay, what can I capitalize on here? What does this lend itself to, right? So like you have the character piece in the forefront of your mind, but you also have this opportunity as you're talking about your culture and their culture to bring in geography, and to talk to them about, okay, look at the differences. They're far away from each other and there's some differences in the way they're leading. So, and I did very much pick up on the character piece, which was good, and also the language piece, which brings us to the literacy across curriculums. Again, the list of adjectives was very, very helpful in helping your learners, your ELLs, to express themselves. You also gave them the opportunity to be expressive by giving them that sentence frame. I want to be And then they were to pick the adjectives, which was strong. That was good. The literacy across the curriculum was probably the strongest element. The use of the digital tools, you had the video If I Were President, and then you also, I noticed in the background, had the use of the timer, which I think is really, really important for children to see, oh, time is ticking, like we need to, I have another candidate who uses like a sand timer with her little kids, and so they can actually see time going away, but the use of the element or the timer was good. Okay, the two areas that I feel like you need to probably really do some thinking about are the application for real world problems and the project-based learning, and here's why. I felt like you were starting to do this. So you were starting to take this idea of a president is a rule maker, which actually in the United States, that's not totally true, right? I mean,
right. Again, I told them, I was like, that's not, there's more people, but we're going to look at it as like the leader.
But you tried to take like the classroom roles and then build on that to take it out, right, to the world. I think the element that's missing for me in this is that when you're doing inquiry-based or project-based learning, you start with a problem. And so you need to circle it back to, what are the things you would like to change? What are the things that a president is a good leader who inspires? And so they change things, or they speak into things that are hard or problematic. But it was so disjointed from any kind of vision that it just felt like a standalone lesson, more on character and adjectives than it did on actually like a vision to, you're going to become a president. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. That does make sense. They like, I don't know if I clipped that part out or not, but I did explain to them that it was going to be like a lengthier project, and like that the first day was just kind of like thinking about like the character quality, about like what kind of person do you want to be, because that's actually something where they struggle. So because I did want to go into like deeper concepts, honestly, for older kids, I think this could be so much more interesting and thinking about like really deep issues. And I think they're struggling with about like looking at world concepts and what they want to change. But I like, that was actually going to be for later on lessons, like the second or third lesson, about looking now at like, okay, so here are some global issues, just like, okay, well, do you have food? Yes, but like some kids don't have food. Do you have homes? Some kids don't have homes. You can go to school. Not all kids can go to school. And like introducing them to some like generalized like issues in the world, and having them see like how they might want to respond. And I think some of them will want to make silly rules like, oh, I would do this. But I think other ones like Diana would be like, I would want to give everyone a house, like something like that. So I think I started, like, I'm trying to make each lesson, I guess it's broken up a little bit more into its own component about it's largely focused on, but it's supposed to kind of flow together and build a little bit more, because I didn't think that they had gotten to the point yet. Like, I thought that'd be too much to introduce rules or problems yet, because there was only so much time. So we focused on what it means to be a good character, like have good character. And then the other parts are going to come later. So by the end of the month, they should be able to think about those things more.
Right. And so you're building the foundation, which I understand. I think there was a little bit of a lost like opportunity to get them kind of dream about it. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, to kind of imagine what we're going to be doing later.
What would you do if you were president? Like, what would you do? You know, I mean, just kind of that exciting, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was there, and maybe I missed it, but I just felt like it was more of a standalone, and their age is really going to play into this. So it's hard for them to grasp, you know, the whole vision. But remember to bring it back down to their level, like, and to create that wonder for them, because they're still little. And so it felt more like a fifth grade lesson, kind of whittled down to a younger grade lesson. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, add some of those elements that they will really really attached to. I mean, the wondering and I even thought about, you could show the White House and you could show the place where the Korean president lives. If there's a square where, something that's recognizable, to go, what would it be like to live in that? What would it, and so we're going to talk all about what it would be like to be the president. I mean, just kind of getting them to imagine and wonder, because they're still at that age where that's so accessible to them. And so you need to capitalize on that before you get down to the like nitty gritty of, each lesson and the skills, like really help them to wonder and to look at it from, I don't know how old they are, 5 and 6 year olds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they're 5 essentially.
Yeah. So as a 5-year-old, what would it be like? I mean, and let that kind of start to churn in their head so that they have some wonder about it. That's that inquiry piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, like add that extra like exciting spark part to it that makes them think more. I was hoping they'd get a little bit more excited about it. There was like seriously one kid that really understood what a president was. The other ones were like, what is president? I'm like, okay, so it's gonna take a while.
Right.
And I think that maybe more visuals or something would have excited them more. We did go over rules, and then I asked them like what they would want to change or not change if they could pick things. And they're like, oh yeah, these ones are good ones. I don't know about this one. I think that started to get excitement, but if I could have found more ways to drum up the excitement, that probably would have been more helpful for them.
And that's where technology could really be your friend in this, because there's so many opportunities to show, like I said, presidents, actual presidents, where they live, kind of different presidents around the world, kings, just for the starter, like these are leaders. If you were the leader of the world, what would you do? Just getting them to really dream and imagine.
I like that. It was a little challenging to find stuff for Korea just because Korea is Korea. So it's easy to find ones in the States. And I didn't really want it to be state-based. But there probably are some resources where I could have showed them like more just like globally, those kind of images. So I will try to work that more into future lessons to get them just a little bit more excited about it as the project goes on.
Good. Okay, is there anything else that you need help with, have a question about?
Not really. I thought that was really helpful. I think for application of real world problems, I think that one's going to get better as they understand what the problems are, because I think that didn't happen at all in the first lesson, but that's just going to be something we're going to build to later. But I think that's probably just how it goes. It's like, yeah, we can touch on that.
Well, and I would keep it real world problems that they can relate to. Mm-hmm. So like you mentioned food, right? That's a real world problem. And so they understand the concept of food, or clean water, but keeping it to a few that they will understand, rather than just a whole, what's a problem that you'd want to, just helping them to make connections that they understand with their own world.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking about giving them a list, and last year that helped. The kids really understood world problems like exceptionally well, which was surprising. But I think giving them a list of ones that they can relate to, I think you're right.
Yeah.
But hopefully that project will end up well. We'll see at the end of the month.
Yes. Okay, I'm sure I'll see more of it. All right, have a great one. See you next week.
You too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.